Good afternoon. On behalf of Colonel Wayne M. Pritt, welcome to Langley Air Force Base and today's retirement ceremony. Today, the men and women of the United States Air Force pay special tribute to Chief Master Sergeant Rolando Pablon on the occasion of his retirement from active duty service with the United States Air Force. I am First Lieutenant Sean Christensen from the 633rd Medical Support Squadron, and I will be your narrator for today's ceremony. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the arrival of the official party and remain standing for the posting of the colors, singing of the national anthem by Captain Lanice Robinson, and the invocation by Chief Master Sergeant Retired Tommy Smith.
Arms. Forward. Mark.
Let us pray. Almighty God, giver of every good and perfect gift, we thank you for allowing us to assemble together in unity this afternoon to honor and pay tribute to a great American airman, Chief Master Sergeant Rolando Pablon. And Father, we thank you for this wise wingman, this loyal leader, willing warrior, who rendered faithful and dedicated service to this grateful nation. We thank you for loaning him to us over the past 24 years. Now we ask you to bless this ceremony as we celebrate together, and as Chief Pablon transitions to a somewhat retired status, please allow us to remember him by his great ships that will continue to sail, his mentorship, his leadership, and certainly his unwavering friendship. May his military memories serve as a beacon of light to guide his future. And finally, Lord, we thank you for Chief Pablon's honorable service and devotion to duty. Today, as we pause to review the report card of his distinguished career, we shall find your words reflected therein. Well done, Chief Pablon. You served with integrity as a faithful follower. You served with selflessness as a loyal leader. You served with excellence in all things. Therefore, you are worthy. You did not falter, you did not fail. So Lord, we humbly ask you and ask for your special blessings upon Chief Pablon and his family, his daughter Rachel and his son Ryan. Keep them steadfast and firm under the shadows of your glory. It is in your holy and righteous name that we pray. Amen, amen, and amen.
Thank you, Captain Robinson and Chief Smith. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. The presiding officer for today's ceremony is Colonel Wayne M. Pritt, Chief, Aerospace Medicine Division, Office of the Command Surgeon, Air Combat Command. Ladies and gentlemen, please hold your applause until the end as we recognize our honored guests in attendance. Chief Pablon's son Ryan and his daughter Rachel, his mother Cookie Santiago and her husband Humberto Pacheco, his sister Lizette Paz and her brother-in-law Roberto, his nephew Joaquin and Quentin Paz, his cousin Technical Sergeant Andre Santiago and his wife Laretha, longtime family friends Curtis and Grace, Matthew, Hilda, Ruben, and Jonathan Negron, Ramon Padilla and his wife Maria, mentor and friends Chief Master Sergeant retired Tommy Smith and his wife Brenda, mentor and friend Lieutenant Colonel Zebby Miles. We would also like to take this opportunity to recognize some of our distinguished guests in the audience today. Colonel Caroline Miller, Commander, 633rd Air Base Wing. Colonel Joseph Ladner, Vice Commander, 633rd Air Base Wing. Chief Master Sergeant Mark Hurst, 633rd Air Base Wing, Command Chief Master Sergeant. Colonel Susan Pietrzakowski, Commander, 633rd Medical Group. Chief Master Sergeant Richard Burgos, Superintendent, 633rd Medical Group. And finally, a heartfelt welcome to all other commanders, chiefs, first sergeant, airmen, mentors, and friends who have come to celebrate Chief Pablon's retirement. Today, we are here to honor Chief Master Sergeant Rolando Pablon, giving more than 24 years of dedicated service to his country and to the United States Air Force. Colonel Pietrzakowski and Chief Pablon, please pose for the presentation of the retirement medal. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the presentation of the Meritorious Service Medal. Attention to orders. Citation to accompany the award of Meritorious Service Medal, 3rd Oak Leaf Cluster, to Chief Master Sergeant Rolando Pablon from 15 August 2011 through 1 April 2016. Chief Master Sergeant Rolando Pablon distinguished himself in the performance of outstanding service to the United States as Superintendent, 633rd Medical Group, Joint Base Langley, Eustis, Virginia. During this period, Chief Pablon advised 7 commanders, guided a budget of $70 million, delivering $44.1 million in nursing care to 942,000 patient visits. Furthermore, he navigated the $70 million facility remodel, increasing direct care efficiency for 417,000 Tidewater beneficiaries. Partnering with Navy Medical Center Portsmouth, Chief Pablon executed the Air Force Surgeon General's vision, making the group the fastest growing medical treatment facility in the Air Force, capturing care valued at $19 million. Chief Pablon developed the 630 medics by overhauling enlisted training, resulting in 0 findings during the 2014 Unit Effectiveness Inspection and 2015 Joint Commission Audit. He orchestrated medical support for the first U.S.-controlled monitoring area in response to Operation United Assistance, garnering the Air Combat Command Outstanding Achievement and Innovation. Chief Pablon's culminate a distinguished career in the service of his country and reflect great credit upon himself and the United States Air Force. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. Thank you, Colonel Pietrzakowski, Chief Pablon. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to introduce Colonel Pritt to say a few words on this special occasion. Colonel Pritt, the floor is yours.
Good afternoon. Got my eyeballs on now. Honored family and friends, ladies and gentlemen, ma'ams and sirs, fellow airmen. First, it's my distinct pleasure to be here today as we ceremonially transition Chief Pablon to the ranks of the USAF retired. Interestingly, Chief, this is the second of my group suits that I've retired. Apparently, I have a predilection for wearing them out. Second, you need to know that I abhor, hate, despise, loathe, detest, and generally all around dislike speaking in public. You could literally take a shower in my palms right now. The point is that when I show up on these stage for these events, it's because I hold the focus of today's ceremony in the highest esteem. And Chief Rolando Pablon is one of those men. Let me allow his Air Force record to tell you why. AFIC Airman of the Quarter, Kelly Air Force Base Airman of the Quarter, Senior Airman Below the Zone, Top 4 Look Sharp Award, Honor Grad Phase 1 and Phase 2 Lab Apprentice Course, ALS Levito Award, Flight Airman of the Quarter, Squadron NCO of the Quarter, selected for Phoenix Strike, First Sergeant of his NCO class, NCO Academy Levito Award winner, AFMC's Lab Flight of the Year, Squadron and Group Senior NCO of the Quarter, Med Group Senior NCO of the Quarter, Team Wright Pat Senior NCO of the Quarter, Senior NCO Academy Distinguished Grad, AFMS Lab Senior NCO of the Year, Test Wing First Sergeant of the Year, Excellent JCO rating, Best MTF seen to date during UEI, not 1 but 3 CCAF degrees, magna cum laude for his bachelor's degree, and a current 4.0 in his master's degree work. And you've just heard about all the outstanding performance while he was at the Med Group. Joined the Air Force as a 70250 admin specialist, cross-trained to 4T 4 years later, NCOIC of Immunology 1 year after tech school, Phase 2 instructor, Air Force Sergeants Association trustee, flight sports rep and softball coach, Lab 2 training course supervisor, NCOIC clinical lab ahead of his peers at the second largest Air Force lab, president of the top three, handpicked for the AFMMC SKT rewrite, deployed to Honduras, deployed to the Dominican Republic, selected for first sergeant, launched the first ever Key Spouse program, deployed to Al Udeid, lab flight super, inpatient squadron super, MDSS super, 633rd Med Group super. I think I had something to do with that, right? Air Base Wing Top 356 Club Liaison, Air Base Wing Chiefs Group President, and 1 out of 16 Air Base Wing Chiefs. Way to go out on the top, Chief. So, folks, that's what this man did with the impressive set of talents that God gave him. Chief, right now, I'd like you to stand up for me, and I'd like all of us to honor Chief with a round of applause. You not only did it, Chief, you did it right. All right, back down to earth. So how is it that Rolando Pablon joined the Air Force? Well, I have it on good authority. This story goes something like this. He walks into the Marine Corps recruiting office based on the flawless and impeccable logic that they had the best uniforms. But then while he was at the MEP station, during his exam, it couldn't be completed because he had an earwax impaction. In the meantime, he spoke to an Air Force recruiter who obviously didn't give 2 cents about an earwax impaction, and the rest is history. So thank God for a little cerumen, huh? So now he's in the Air Force, but he's an admin specialist. So just how did Rolando Pablon end up as a medic? As the story goes, without all the socially unacceptable details that I will not share here, apparently on one bright and sunny Secretary's Day, admin specialist Airman Pablon received a simply gorgeous bouquet of long stem roses suitable for display on his desk. He wisely decided that a career change was imperative. Well, Chief, we're glad you came to us, whatever the route of travel. And today we thank you for your steadfast and long-enduring service in defense of the United States of America. Our lives, indeed my life, is enriched by knowing and serving alongside you. We heard a little bit about mentorship from the very distinguished prayer that was offered. I'd like to offer a little bit of my own. In the Bible, there's a story about the Apostle Paul, and Paul talks about having a Barnabas and a Timothy. Now this is important because in Paul's world, the Barnabas was the senior mentor, somebody that Paul, and Paul had it pretty much all together if you read your Bible, but somebody that Paul could look up to and talk to and bounce stuff off of and be mentored by. He knew the importance of that. Timothy, on the other hand, was the other side of the coin, somebody that Paul could mentor. While Paul received in his relationship with Barnabas, he knew it was incumbent upon him to share with someone below him. This is a principle that Chief Pablon has exhibited his entire career. He has sought guidance from those older, wiser, and with more experience, and he has taken what he has learned in his life's journey and made it a point to share it with those airmen below him. Chief, I commend you for that. That's an outstanding example of what the Air Force is all about, and that's what grows senior NCOs in this Air Force. And I just thank you for that. I want that recognized. And so, Chief, I come to an end. I ask that God bless you. I ask that you have Godspeed in the next chapter of your life. And I thank you from the bottom of my heart for all your service to the United States Air Force. Thank you.
Chief Pablon, will you please come join Colonel Pritt for the publishing of the retirement orders, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand. I was one of those Phase 2 students for Chief Pablon, by the way. Attention to orders. Department of the Air Force, Special Order Number AC001948, dated 09 December 2015, effective 31 March 2016. Chief Master Sergeant Rolando Pablon is relieved from active duty, retired effective 1 April 2016 per AFI 363203, in the grade of Chief Master Sergeant by order of the Secretary of the Air Force. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. I thought Colonel Pritt was going to say a few words. I didn't think it was over yet. He actually tried to convince me to call him Juanetta. I refuse. Following Air Force tradition, Colonel Pritt will now present the retirement certificate to Chief Pablon. This is to certify that Chief Master Sergeant Rolando Pablon, having served faithfully and honorably, is retired the first day of April 2016. Additionally, we have a certificate. I'm a product of Chief Pablon. Additionally, we have a certificate from the President of the United States to Chief Pablon for his service in the armed forces. I extend to you my personal thanks and the sincere appreciation of a grateful nation for your contributions of honorable service to our country. Lastly, we have a certificate of appreciation from the Chief Master Sergeant of the Air Force to Chief Pablon for his service. The certificate reads, I am proud to join your friends and family in congratulating you on your retirement from the United States Air Force. As this chapter in your life closes and a new one begins, I hope the years ahead are filled with more great memories and continued success. Brian and Rachel, will you please come forward and join your father? Military children sacrifice more than we give them credit. They serve alongside their airmen and are valued members of our Air Force family. In recognition of this service, Chief Pablon will now present Ryan and Rachel with a Military Child Medal and a certificate of appreciation from that reads, throughout the years of your life, you have made sacrifices. You have served your country as much as I have done. In your loving way, you quietly shouldered the heavy burden that you were asked to carry. Most of the time, you could not understand why I was not there, but you quietly hid the tears, courageously put on a smile, and defiantly promised that you would support me. You were then now one of the most important parts of my life, and it was your love that enabled me to assure you that what I was doing was important. There's no way in my mind that I could have been a success in the military without having your support, your understanding, and most importantly, your unquestionable love. Thank you for being there for me. Ms. Santiago, will you please come forward and join your son and grandchildren? It's because of our parents that it's possible for our members to serve their country. Chief Pablon will now present his mother with the Military Parent Medal and a certificate of appreciation that reads, the sacrifice the parent of a military member renders is beyond compare. As a parent, they willingly offer their blessing when the child is compelled to serve their country. If it were not for the military parent through their child's service, America would not enjoy all the freedoms that exist today. The Military Parent Medal is my way of saying, you were then, and now, one of the most important parts of my life. It was your understanding, love, and assurance that enabled me to know what I was accomplishing was important. Thank you for being there for me. Thank you, Ms. Santiago. Please be seated. Every retiree receives a special retirement pin as a memento of their active duty service. At this time, we ask Ryan and Rachel to place this pin on Chief Pablon's lapel to symbolize his transition from active duty to retired status. Colonel Pritt, Ryan, and Rachel, please be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, we now invite Chief Master Sergeant Arthur Croteau to make a presentation to Chief Pablon on behalf of the Langley's Chiefs Group.
First, I want to invite all the other chiefs who might here to come up with this. This is from the Langley's Chiefs Group. So, retired two. Retired two. Yeah, retired two. So probably one of the most common questions we'll hear in the Air Force is, hey Chief, you got a minute? And it just reinforces the fact that when you're a chief, you kind of dedicate your life to giving back to others and the airmen. And we certainly heard that that's true for Chief Pablon, the way he's dedicated himself. He's also been the president of this group, the Langley Chiefs Group. And so a lot of what he's done over his last 24 years has been selfless service for others. So as a way to memorialize that, to make sure that the people beyond the audience here understands and recognizes his service and all that he's done for his country, we've got to the Air Force Enlisted Heritage Hall, and we've had a memorial work paper placed in his name at the Heritage Hall, and it'll be there in perpetuity to honor your service. So thank you very much for all you've done, for all your service, and we really appreciate you.
Thank you, Chief Croteau and the Chiefs Group. We now invite Colonel Pietrzakowski to make a presentation on behalf of the men and women of the 633rd Medical Group.
Thank you, and it is my pleasure to do so. And because members of the Med Group know that I am into interactive skits and interpretive dance, our retirement would not be complete without a totally impromptu skit. And what I'd like to demonstrate is the first 2 months of my command walking around with Chief Pablon. So Chief Pablon is going to be played by Chief Pablon, appropriately. I'm going to ask Colonel Davis to come up and play Colonel Pietrzakowski. So Chief and Colonel Davis, please come here. Okay, you're going to be walking from here. You'll be on the right. A little shorter. That's okay. Stand by. Please bear with us just a minute. Like you order this way and this table. impromptu interactive skit. Chief Pablon basically is a rock star, okay? In case the family didn't know, did you guys know? Oh, yeah, he pretty much is. But Chief Pablon, and I would walk around similar to what Colonel Davis did and say, always time to be friendly to the Med Group commander. And Chief, you know, he sort of paved the way, and he said, hey, airmen, say hi to the colonel too, and they did, which was wonderful. But my short months with Chief Pablon were very short, because he is phenomenal. Get a little teary-eyed, Chief. Okay, a little bit of awesome leaking out, but it's all right. Allergies. It's okay. But as you can hear, Chief is phenomenal. 24-year career, and we are really going to miss him. And huge impact on the airmen of the Med Group, and that's airmen with a capital A. Because all of us, as was said, Chief, do you have a minute? And you always took that minute or hour or hours and provided awesome mentorship. So it's my pleasure to provide a couple of gifts. The first one is very important because this was discussed when Chief Pablon got his braces. When Chief Pablon got his braces, he already looks young, right? It's kind of disgusting. And so he already looks like a teenager. He gets braces, but our orthodontists are so good that they rarely have to use headgear. And we said, Chief, what is braces without headgear? So Colonel Reese and company fashion. And Colonel Reese, if you could come up and help me just present this. Colonel Reese did a little spin on this because Chief Pablon, very athletic. We had to put a little special spin on the headgear.
And Chief Pablon wore the headgear, he'd be finished.
That we have been waiting for. Thank you. You can take that off. Not now, but maybe a little bit later. No, I'm just kidding. Sorry. So I will say that although Chief Pablon does have a very youthful look, there was one time that our very quiet and unassuming administrator, Colonel Paz, Chief was all dressed out to go play with the Med Group softball team. And Colonel Paz said, oh, wow, Chief, are you the team manager? And she said, snap, I'm like the star player. All right, so now we're getting down to serious business. Chief had a kind of an idea of what he wanted for his retirement. We kind of took it off with it, and we had a spouse of a Med Group member. Is he here today? Oh, great. Do you mind? And Jeff has the baby. I was going to ask you to come up, but I think she has other plans. But Jeff did a phenomenal job, and we're going to wheel this up. Jeff, are you able to come up? So we would like to unveil Chief's shadow box.
Thank you, Colonel Pietrzakowski. Chief Pablon, please be seated.
On behalf of the enlisted men and women of the 633rd Medical Group, we honor you with your last parade. Detail, post.
Detail. Head. Forward. Detail. Up.
Let the march be played with the forming of the troops for my last parade. The years of wars and the years of waiting, obedience to orders unhesitating. Years in the States and the years overseas, all woven in a web of memories. A lifetime of service passes in review, as many good friends and exotic places too. In the waning sunlight begin to fade with martial music of my last parade. My last salute to the service and base, now someone else will take my place. To the sharp young airmen marching away, I gladly pass the orders of the day. Though uncertain what my future may hold, still, if needed, before I grow too old, I'll keep my saber sharp, my powder dry, lest I be recalled to duty by and by. So let the bugle blow. Fire the evening gun, slowly lower the colors. For my retirement has begun.
Now for the moment we have all been waiting for. Ladies and gentlemen, I now present Chief Master Sergeant Rolando Pablon, United States Air Force, retired.
Thank you. Please be seated. All right, Colonel Pye got me pretty good, huh? You know, she always joked I was a rock star, but looking at the size of this crowd in this room, I feel like a rock star. You guys have a seat. There's a couple of seats over here. You don't have to stand up this whole time. I won't take long. I know
that I'm the only thing between you and a well-deserved 3-day weekend. So I'm going to be short, trust me, I'll be short. But I do have a lot of people to thank. And this speech won't be about me. It's never been about me. It's about all of you and those folks that showed me the support, the leadership, the mentorship, the friendship, the followership. Many of you here. And I would not be standing here celebrating this successful career without all of you. But I'm going to start out with my thanks with the 4 airmen that made me feel like a rock star and put all this together. I know it was a pain in the butt a lot, and mostly because I wasn't participating. They made a lot of decisions without me, and they put all this together. So I want to have Captain Nurse, Senior Master Sergeant Johnson, Tech Sergeant Hall, and Staff Sergeant Dixon. Please come up and please give them a round of applause for me. They're all making bets that I'm going to cry. I'm not. I know this takes a lot of hours to put together, and this is just a small gift, and I can't repay you for all the hours that it took to put all this together. But this might help you forget a little bit for a couple hours. So thank you so much.
We're going to go off script just a little bit.
Oh.
Because I say it's a leadership quality, he says it's bossy, but we have something for the chief. We wanted to thank you for giving us this opportunity in your final days of your career, and we wanted to honor you with something. Chief actually asked for 2 gifts, and we told him to have several seats. You get 1, just like everybody else, 1. But the 4 of us wanted to honor his memory, and what we wanted to do is give you something that you could continue to remember us by, because you did almost drive us to drink. You gotta open it.
They're trying to make me cry. That's what it is.
There's a pair of shoes on the line right now.
Oh, wow.
What Chief is opening is we had a decanter set to remember the Med Group by, the decanter being the centerpiece that has the Med Group shield on it. And each class has one of the squadron patches on it, so 1 for each of the 6 squadrons.
All right, they're making my speech longer. They're making my speech longer. All right. I also want to thank a few people that also helped them put together the behind the scenes that they alluded to. I know Senior Master Sergeant Howell helped out with the slideshow. Sergeant Thompson and her husband for that beautiful shadow box. He's got cards on the shadow box, so come up and grab one. I know some of these chiefs are looking at it. They're salivating. I know. Captain Prather and her husband, the airmen in the blue line, the honor guard, and my fellow lab tech, Captain Lanice Robinson, for that great national anthem. Thank you so much. Colonel Miller, Chief Hurst, Colonel Ladner, and all of the Joint Base Langley Eustis leadership, thank you for coming. It's an honor for you to be here for me. Colonel Pye, I also wish that we could have worked longer together. You are an amazing leader, and I personally thank you for fighting for me, for wanting to keep me as your superintendent. Besides accomplishing the mission, we did have a blast, and it was a short 6 months, but it didn't take you very long to embarrass me. Usually it takes a little bit longer to embarrass me. I never found a commander that likes to be as silly as I am, and you're way over the top. I listed them. I listed all the, in 6 months, karaoke, lip syncing, vanilla ice dancing, epic Halloween, egg roulette. These are commander's calls in situations like that. We had a blast. But I know you and Chief Burgos will do great things for the Med Group, and I thank you so much. To Chief Couteau and the Chiefs Group, thank you for your words. Art, I know you and me, back-to-back Chiefs Group president, and we know it's hard sometimes to manage chiefs. I mean, you want a leadership lesson? Try to manage a bunch of chiefs. Try to lead a bunch of chiefs. They all have opinions, but the one thing about those chiefs is they're a fantastic group, and when they get together, they can move mountains. And I'm honored to share this stripe with you. You wear it all well, all of you. A couple more thanks to all the first sergeants in the audience. Y'all know how I feel about the greatest job one can have in the Air Force. I'm not only proud of the years that I put in as a diamond wearer, but I'm also proud of the fact that there's at least 8 former medics wearing that diamond right now. A couple of them in this room. What you do for your squadrons and the airmen cannot be measured, and it takes a special type of person to be a first sergeant. And I thank you for all that you do every day. To the Med Group squadron commanders, the 3 letters, Colonel Retired Forrest, Colonel Retired Fry, the superintendents, thank you for supporting me. I love the trust and openness we shared. I know I could always count on you. I will really miss working with you every day, and you've become part of my extended family. Superintendents, Med Group superintendents, I know each one of you will be great group superintendents one day. I had a fantastic team in the Med Group. Colonel Pritt, sir, thank you for those words and officiating my retirement ceremony. I was humbled and grateful in the confidence that you showed in me to select me as your group superintendent. I was a baby chief at the time, and you saw something in me. It's now been 3 years since you've officiated my promotion to chief, and we've been through a lot together personally and professionally, and I cannot thank you enough for what you've done for me and my family. I've also been blessed with friends and family members that have come out of town. I'm going to start with Chief Tommy Smith, retired. This guy's he's like the mayor of Chesapeake. You need something, he's got a guy for something. He's got a guy. You need something to do, he's got a guy. But ever since I came to Langley, you've been a big brother to me. I could come to you for any advice, anytime I need. I know you're always there for me. Thank you for doing that invocation. Appreciate it. I'd also like to thank my friends, Hilda, Ruben, Jonathan, Grace, and Curtis, for making the trip from New Jersey. Heck, Grace, she was even there at basic training for me. So I have some flowers for her. She was there from the beginning too. She's like a big sister to me. Also, is there Master Sergeant Elroy Williams? Where you at, Elroy? Master Sergeant, there you are. That man right there was in my flight at basic training. This is a small Air Force.
It's got pictures.
It's got pictures too. Don't show those pictures. Our TI would be surprised. We're standing right here, both retired. All right. I also like to thank Maria and Ramon, who have been second parents to me. Maria was my babysitter and has always been there for many milestones in my life. And I also have some flowers for her. All right. To my little cousin, Tech Sergeant Dre Santiago and his wife. Stand up, Dre. All right, he's still my little cousin. I don't care how tall he is. My aunt called me up one day, and I was about 8 years in the military, and she told me, you need to talk to your cousin. He's up to no good. And I drove up to New York, and I pulled him by the arm, threw him in the car, and drove him to a recruiter. And sure enough, here he is. Here he is. And I'm so proud of you with your Tech Sergeant stripes. I was going to choke up on that a little bit. I knew it. All right, I'm good. Those allergies. Where's Captain Hendricks at? Those allergies are killing me, Captain. All right. To my brother-in-law, Roberto, my 2 nephews, Joaquin and Quentin, my sister, Lisette. I know, Lisa, this was hard on you when I joined the Air Force. You were only 13, and you hated the fact that I left.
Are there tears?
Nope. I love you, sir. Good. You get to the front row, it gets tougher. All right. To my mom, my husband, Jack, and her husband, Checo. Mom, I want to thank you for all the love and support you've given me. I'm not going to even look your way. It was over 24 years ago that you drove me to the MAP station at Fort Hamilton. It was just you and me in the vehicle. Whew. And I know you didn't want me to go, but you supported my decision. It was a tough time in your life. You even asked me if you wanted to go, if you wanted me for you to come inside with me. I told you no, and I know that hurt you, and I know you stood there in the car and cried for a long time. But I did make a promise to you. I told you I'd be home soon. Well, it only took me 8,820 days, but I'm keeping that promise. I'm coming home, and you'll be proud to know that I made every one of those days count. Colonel Pritt, during his speech, rattled off a whole bunch of awards that I won, and I tried to get my mom to understand some of those awards and stuff. You want your parents to be proud of you and stuff, and she didn't understand a thing I was saying. You know what she focused in on? Good conduct medal. So like, oh, you a good boy? Okay. You just never grow up in their eyes. You just never grow up in their eyes. All right. Okay, this is gonna be a little tough. All right, to my kids, Ryan and Rachel. All right, a lot of people have asked me why I'm getting out of the Air Force so soon, and those are my two reasons. In the Air Force, in the military, we juggle a lot of balls in the air. And a lot of those balls in the air can be anything, whether it's education, finance, PME, TDYs, deployments. All those balls that we juggle in the air are made out of rubber. Now, you can drop one of those balls and just pick it back up and just keep on juggling. But one of those balls that you're juggling is made out of glass. And that one is your family. Now, if you drop that one, it may not shatter, but it won't be the same. Unfortunately, I dropped that ball during my career. I had a divorce 5 years ago, and these two decided to come live with me. They had to make that tough decision. We were in separate states, and I can't thank them enough. I thank God every day that they're with me. So I can't afford to drop that ball again, because I know my ball had a crack in it. So I juggle that ball every day, and I make sure that one stays up. And that's why I'm getting out of the Air Force. I love you two kids. I ain't even getting close to them, but I'll be breaking down. I ain't even getting close to them. All right. Now, I've been to quite a few retirements, and during Chiefs retirements, I've always thought it was cool that they always have a reason for selecting who their proffer and their MC are going to be. And I selected these two individuals because they represent what was important to me in the Air Force. What I realized fairly early in my career is that there's no program that I can run, no process that I can create, no OI that I can write that will have the greatest impact, because all those things will change over time. Someone will come up with a better idea, some technology will change something. No, my legacy lies in the lives that I've touched, in the students that I've taught, and in the airmen that I've helped. There's no better feeling than an airman thanking you for having a positive influence in their lives. And I would trade that for any award and medal on my chest, any day of the week. And these two represent that. I picked Lieutenant Christensen because Lieutenant Christensen, as he said, was one of my Phase 2 students as an airman at Wright Pat Air Force Base. So, he was so embarrassed when he saw me on Langley, he didn't even want to salute me. he didn't realize that it was more of an honor for me to salute him, because with his success, even if I was a little bit a part of it, I was thrilled. So with that, I want to give him my coin. I also want to thank Airman Olivas. Airman Olivas represents those airmen that I've helped over the years, especially as a first sergeant. We all make mistakes, but it's how you respond to your mistakes that make up your true character. I knew Airman Olivas was a good airman with unlimited potential, but she did make a mistake, and I brought her in, and I was pretty hard on her. I was pretty bad, huh? Sorry. But it was for your own good, and I did it because I saw what you can achieve. And since that time, she's taken off. And I'm so proud of her. It speaks volumes about the type of airman and the person that you are, and I'm proud that you're in the Air Force. All right, there's many people I want to thank and in the audience, but I'm going to finish it up because I know you guys want to get on your 3-day weekend, and I see the snow is getting a little bit more out there. Last, I want to thank the men and women of 633rd Med Group. During one of my luncheons with the airmen, one asked me, how do I always keep a smile on my face? I'm going to be smiling more because Dennis was fixing my jacked up grill. You're always going to see a smile on my face. But I am the senior enlisted member of over 1,400 outstanding medics in the greatest force the world has ever known. How do you not smile? I mean, when you know that your team can handle any crisis that's thrown its way. I believe leadership matters. I believe positive attitude is contagious. And I could never let my airmen see I was having a bad day. Because at the end of the day, it's never bad because of the quality of people that we have within this Med Group. I was proud to be your superintendent and thank each and every one of you for the work that you do every day. I'm retiring in the local area, so the greatest compliment I can give to you medics is that I will choose Langley as the team to take care of me and my family. I trust what you do every day. And so that's a shout out to my PCM team, Captain Hendricks. Thank you so much for only scolding me for a little while, because I'm an awful patient, I know. I appreciate it. But I'm ending my active duty career on a high note because I had the opportunity to lead all of you. Thank you so much. God bless each and every one of you. And I'm out.
See if I can get this right here. Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes today's ceremony. Thank you very much.